What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 2 of Made in the Cave. Coach Jonathan here, excited to talk with you guys today about taking personal ownership. This is a huge piece of my life story. It's a huge piece of how I ran my gym. It's a huge piece of how I look at my life. And it's probably always going to be a part of the bedrock of what I believe and think and how I look at the world. So to start out with, the biggest question is, what is the biggest determiner of someone's success or progress in any endeavor? Is it the environment? Is it the people you're around, the places that you go? Is it the things that you interact with on a daily basis? Is it willpower? Is it your ability to push through and endure, to be able to suffer, to be able to handle things and take things up and do them even when you don't feel like it? Is it knowledge? Is it the right information? Is it the proper understanding? Is it the ability to access what you need to change your actions? Is it belief? Is it the unwavering agreement that the outcome will be favorable? You believe it's going to happen. You can see it. Is it identity? Is it the internal view of one's attitude, personality, or disposition? And you already know what I'm going to say. It's none of these things. So what is the biggest determiner of success and progress? So I'm going to start with a story. When I was in my mess, I pawned some of my dad's tools, sadly for a low price, and it was a hot June day in central North Carolina. I'm at the storage building down by our ponds. I'm dope sick, so I'm nauseous. I got cold sweats. I could hear the cicadas buzzing. I felt the humidity. I just felt gross. And my dad approached me and he asked me the question, where are my tools? Now, I thought I was being smart. I said, I don't know, maybe someone came by the building and stole them. And that had happened before. I thought I was being clever. We had had a couple of times in the past where people had gone into our buildings and taken things. But it really wasn't that common. And my dad knew the answer to the question. He was just giving me an opportunity to answer it. And so he said, that's it. We're not doing this anymore. You can either go get help and we'll help you do that, or you're out of here. But you're not going to do this anymore. You're not going to keep doing this to our family. And then he walked off. And I can still remember, again, that feeling of being in the hot, humid sun and feeling dope sick. And at that time, I realized that it was my decision. And it was the first time in a long time I had realized it was my decision what I did next. I had just been living this lifestyle of addiction. I had been always responding to my need for drugs and pursuing that. But at this moment, I realized, oh, it's my choice what I do next. I get to decide which way I go. When he confronted me, I cannot explain it any other way than deep down internally, I realized the ball was in my court. And for a lot of us, we're in situations where we feel like we can't make a different decision. We believe that we're stuck, where we're unable to do something until XYZ occurs, or the other person changes, or the circumstance adjusts. We think that just because our friend, spouse, business, job, employer, politician, boss, government, economy, religious organization, the news, whatever, because of those things, we can't make a decision. They create some sort of scenario in which we don't have a choice. And in that scenario, we are giving ownership over to somebody else. We are literally handing over our personal authority to make a decision. And personal ownership is when we accept responsibility for our decision and then we remove control or influence of our decision from outside sources. I'll say that again. Personal ownership is the decision to accept responsibility for our decisions and remove control or influence of our decision from outside sources. Now, there are two main dynamics here. The first one is simply the decisions that we know we can make, right? So with me, my dad confronts me. He gives me an ultimatum. I'm an adult freeloading in his house, stealing from them, lying to get my personal gain to continue my addiction. And I knew what he told me was correct. Like, he was right. And so therefore, I had a decision. I was like, hey, I either do this or I do that. And there's a lot of aspects in life where we know this to be true. Physical health is a very common one. It's our decision whether we invest in and how we manage our health. Okay, so it's our decision if we're going to spend dollars on something, invest in something, and then show up to use it. It's our responsibility or our decision, like when we get advice from doctors or medical professionals about what route we're going to take. It's our decision to make ourselves get up and move, to choose what we put into our bodies. It's up to us to accept that if we have a chronic issue, that we're gonna take medication instead of trying to do things that require our effort. Uh, those are things that when we're confronted, we're like, oh, I either do this or that. That's the decision. And in those scenarios, the reality is we get to choose, hey, am I going to go this road or am I going to go that road? And a lot of evidence for which way would take you which way. Now, there's a second one that's very sneaky. The other way we give up personal ownership is by giving control or influence of our decision-making ability to other people or entities. And this one's more powerful because it gives us excuses to rest on, and they may seem valid. So again, the other way, the second sneaky way that we give up personal ownership is we give control or influence of our decision-making ability to other people or entities. And it's way more powerful because it gives us excuses to rest on, and some of which may sound valid. My work schedule doesn't allow me to work out. Your current work schedule may be a problem, but you could get a different job. I have too many obligations for my kids' activities. You could just keep doing your kids' activities, or you could say, hey, we're only doing one because I need to take care of myself. My job is so much work that I have to stay late, even though I'm not compensated for it. You could leave when you're allowed to leave because that's the only time you're supposed to be there. The list goes on with this type of stuff. And these are the things that we can find ourselves in the situation, and because of the pressing nature of the current situation, we don't think we can do anything differently because we're just thinking about adding or doing more. However, we have to step back and say, am I complicit in this situation? Am I part of the decision-making process that's keeping me in this situation? And so all those examples, very much so. If like your schedule doesn't allow you to work out, you got to change your schedule, because if working out is a long-term benefit for your health and you're realizing now if you don't do something about it, you have problems, it's your responsibility. So you not doing it is your decision to keep doing the same thing you're doing. It's not the other thing's fault. It's not your work schedule's fault. It's not your kids' activity schedule. It's not your job or your employer. It's not the economy. It's not any of this stuff. And it's very dangerous when we allow these conditions to let us justify staying the same and not changing what we need to change. This creates massive pain and future damage. Again, after many years in the health and fitness world, and probably many more in that world, I have seen too many people who have woken up one day and then they're like, holy crap, like my life is forever changed because of my chronic issues. If I don't do something, I need to do something about this. The sad thing is, recently I had an appointment with someone who did not sign up at the gym, and he's 30 and he's already on statins and blood pressure medication. That's a really big problem at the age of 30. Those things, like if you're taking those things at that age, number one, you may have a doctor who's like not willing to walk with you through those situations. But number two, there's a very real chance that you have certain things lined up where if you don't change that, you're going to be stuck with those things for a long period of time. And whenever it comes to being confronted with these things, we need to realize what the biggest determiner of our success or progress forward is. So going back to the first question, what is the biggest determiner of success or progress? It's the level of personal ownership that we take over what we control, which also means letting go of what we cannot control. So two sides of that. What can we control? Okay, yeah, I can control my work schedule. I can get a different job. I can manage different kids' activities. I can do all of that stuff. I can do the grocery shopping. I can prepare my meal ahead of time. I have all that. But the other one is also letting go of what we cannot control. And so like things like the economy, all that stuff, first off, that's labeling. So like whenever you see stuff in the news or any type of information like that, like it's labeling something as good or bad. It doesn't actually take into account what your present situation is and what your present opportunities are. I have to let go of, oh, I can't control what the news says, or I can't control what this person's doing, but I can do what I need to do. So the most important thing that I want to talk about before we get any further in what you would do to change is when it comes to relationships, this is a very dangerous place if we do not let go of what we cannot control. So I see many men go into recovery and then they're like, hey, my marriage is shattered. and then they go back to their relationship, their marriage, and they try to just manually fix everything. They just try to do everything. They try to appease the woman. And there's nothing wrong with trying to do that. But if that's your aim and you're not internally changing you and you're not taking care of yourself and your health and you're sacrificing yourself and your health for the resolution in your marriage relationship, what can happen is you are giving up red flags that might be popping up and things that you need to change because you have this one thing and you've got tunnel vision on fixing that relationship rather than letting go of like, I can't control whether that person responds to me or not. I need to live in accordance with what the best standard is for me. And then as time goes on and those things healed, because I'm active, I'm involved, I want this relationship to be better, but I have to allow that person to come back into the relationship too. If you just keep actively forcing it, then ultimately you're going to end up in a place where you did not let go of something you can't control and then focused on what you can control. You spent all your time trying to influence something that you can't control anyways. You can't make anybody else do anything else. But you looked past what you can control, which is what you need to develop internally as an individual. So in the addiction recovery world, we say you can't help someone until they want to get help. That's another way that it's very dangerous is if someone's like, well, I'm doing pretty good. Well, dude, I can't influence that person. I can't help that person do anything different. But when they decide that they want help, when they say, yeah, I need help, all of a sudden they've decided that they have a choice that they can do something differently. They have a choice that they can listen to somebody else. They can trust somebody else, that they can actually move forward and change and do something different. So all of this to say, like, these relationship type things and like with addiction recovery, but also with health, it can be a very dangerous place where we are blaming other things or making other things the reason why that we're staying the same or behaving the way we are. And especially if that violates our long-term health and well-being, we will end up in a bad place. The example of being on blood pressure medication at the age of 30, if you keep doing what you're doing, that's problematic. If you're burning yourself out trying to live a certain way and manufacture who you are to make somebody like you and come back to you, you're going to end up in a bad place. If you walk around thinking you know everything and you know what to do, but like the current evidence in your life says that you don't, you're going to end up in a very bad place. And all of that has to do with not taking personal ownership. That's saying, I am the reason I am where I am. And I'm also giving away authority, my autonomy to make decisions to other people's circumstances and everything. And people will live their entire lives like this. They will live their entire lives bent towards what they think other people, like they're waiting on other people to change or other people to accept them or other people to do certain things. They're waiting on, again, the economy to change, or they're waiting for this thing to happen that's out in the future. And it's so many pieces that they can't control, rather than just coming back and saying, hey, what can I control? I can control my health. I can control my physical state. I can control my mental state. I can control my spiritual state. I can control my effort and work ethic. There's a lot of stuff we can control. And the closer that we get to focusing on the things we can control while starting to grow out of or eliminate the things we can't control, that's when we actually have success and progress. Financial progress, career progress, relationship progress, physical fitness progress, all of it comes from putting us in the driver's seat and saying, hey, I have a choice. I can actually make the decision. So I wish I could tell you that when my dad confronted me, I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to rehab, and that was it. No, I didn't actually do it for me. I did it because I was forced, and I was still blaming somebody else. I was blaming my circumstance of why I was in rehab. So the whole year I was in rehab, I was like, well, I'm here because my dad's making me be here. No one changes in that situation when that's externally motivated. It can get you started, but if you don't change or have intrinsic motivation, it's not going to have a long-term effect. So I went to rehab for a year, got out, relapsed the day I got out. But 6 months later, I was in my mom's house and I was looking out the window and I was just like, God, if I do whatever it is you call me to do, I know that I won't be back here. And that is since then, since I finally went to Buffalo, I believe January 29th of 2011, I've been sober. But it was because I decided and I realized I had a choice. And when I showed up, I said, I don't know what to do. Can you show me what to do? That's taking personal ownership, is realizing I am where I am. I'm the reason I'm here, but I can also be part of the solution to no longer be here again. Love you guys. I hope you guys have a great day. And if you like this, or if anything really hit you hard and it helped you out, please share this out. It would mean the world to me. I'll see you guys next time.